Welcome back, sister. This is Nadine Dyer, and today I am joined by Miss Danica Eyler. And I am so excited for this conversation. Danica is a woman who wears many hats, like so many of us. She is a wife of 24 years, a mom of two teens. I kind of want to stop there and go, whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah.
She is a business owner. She is a committee scout troop, serves in that way. She is a magistrate judge in the community. She is a Christian. She is a candidate for election to be a judge in our community. She is an attorney, and she is all the things. Welcome, Danica.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So good to have you on. And we're going to dive right into our topic. And the title is Pruning for Purpose. I love just even I don't really love the word pruning,
Mm,
but I like pruning for purpose.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I love it's all about the equipping of all the seasons we've walked through for the equipping of our purpose. And so Danica, I can't wait to hear your story. The
Yeah.
floor is yours. Tell us about pruning for purpose.
Yeah. So, I think that it really starts when I was young. So, my parents were young parents. My mom was 19 years old when I was born. And in those days, when you got pregnant, you got married, whether you wanted to or not. And so, my parents were married for a very short period of time, and then divorced when I was about 2 years old, somewhere in that time frame. So, I don't remember them ever being together. Um, I'm an only child, so neither of my parents had any other children besides me. Um, and, for the longest time, my dad told this story about my conception, which was that they were messing around. And then my dad got in a bathtub, then my mom got in the bathtub, and poof, somehow that's how I was conceived. And so, um,
Miracle.
yeah, years ago when I thought I was gonna have all this time, I started writing a book about my life, and it started out and I said, "I'm the second coming of Jesus because I was immaculately conceived."
That's funny.
Um, he told that story for years, like, until
Yeah,
I was 20 years old, and I was like, "Dad, seriously?
you
Like,
gotta
I
stop
I
that.
you gotta stop. Like, I know that that's not true,
Yeah,
so we've gotta pump the brakes on this story that's completely false."
yeah.
Um, but growing up, I've said many times, was a lot of fun for my mom and not so much fun for me. And it probably really wasn't a lot of fun for my mom either, but from my perspective, it seemed like it was. She was in her early 20s and she was, being an early 20-year-old.
Okay.
And so I spent an enormous amount of time with my aunts and my uncles and my
Okay.
grandparents. And and to this day, I am very close with um most of my aunts and uncles. Unfortunately, all my grandparents have passed away now, but I was very close to them before they passed as well.
Yeah.
And so, that um time frame with respect to, pruning on purpose, my parents um were not really the main. I lived with my mom full time and it was just her and I in our house, but I spent my weekends with my great grandmother, Granny, and I spent my, daytimes with my aunts and uncles, and a lot of my core memories are those times.
Okay.
And, that time frame, I became an adult very early. Like, I was young, you
Yeah.
know? I did chores and I did stuff when I was 5 and 6 years old that, and so I've been, in that realm for a long time. And so
Grow up. You didn't get to be a kid.
not really, no, and my aunts and uncles will tell you that. And, um, and it just was, I loved school. Like, I loved school. My teachers loved me, and
Yeah.
I walked to school every day, uphill both ways, just kidding. But I did. I did walk to school when I was young. I lived in a small town, and it was easy to get to school, and it was safe, and it was fine, and so I walked to school every day, elementary school, and, I loved school. It was a place where I could go and everybody thought I was a rock star
Yeah.
and, was a lot different vibe than what I was getting from home.
Yeah.
And so not that my, I I don't talk to my mom anymore. I haven't talked to my mom in, I don't even know now, a long, long time.
Wow.
And it's not because my mom's a bad person, she's not. My mom, um, she and I just have different realities. What she believes is reality and what I know to be true,
Yeah,
based on my experiences are just so opposite that it's not been possible for us to be in the same space for a long time.
that's hard.
It is hard. It's hard. And so, but again, I don't, and I tell my kids this, I don't want them to think that she's bad. She's not bad.
Sure.
She and I just are just not very compatible,
Yeah,
as we've gotten older. So, all of that, um, experience, I think was very pruning for me, right? I think that, um, removed from me a lot of childhood, as you mentioned. I not that I didn't get to do anything fun. That's just not true. But I
yeah,
certainly had a lot of responsibility, and I certainly had a lot of experiences that made me grow up a lot quicker than a lot of people.
yeah,
Um, but I don't look back on those times and go, "Oh, I can't believe that happened to me," or "I'm so," that was my life, and those experiences have shaped me into the person that I am today.
that's right.
Um, and so, yeah, I mean, I think that was the first part of it. My parents really didn't like each other for a really long time. And so that
Breaks.
created a lot of conflict,
Yeah,
between them, which of course meant I was involved in, unfortunately, because I'm the kid.
yeah,
Um, and so, there was a lot happening from the time I was, a child until I got older. Um, when I was 12, my mom and I actually moved from Southern Indiana up to Indianapolis. She wanted to get out of the small town, and so we moved. And my dad had to allow it, and he did. Um, and we first moved here. We moved from into Pike Township, which is around Indianapolis here, and it was a giant culture shock for me. Uh,
sure.
I mean, talk about talk about pruning. I literally moved from a small Southern Indiana town where there were 2 non-white students in my entire school,
Okay.
and I moved to Pike Township where I had a class where I was the only white female.
Wow.
And,
That's a
the
big shock. That's a big difference.
It is, and it's and it wasn't that I have anything against anybody.
Of
It
course.
is just that, I'm in an environment that I am just not used to.
Right.
I'm in an environment with people who don't look like me, people who don't have the same life experience that I have had, people who I didn't understand and probably didn't understand me.
Yeah.
And so I was there for 1 semester, and I told my mom, I said, "We're either gonna move from here or I'm moving back."
Okay.
I said, I
Can't
can't
do
do
it.
this."
Yeah, this work for me.
Yeah, and so she moved us to
Okay.
Lawrence Township, and I went to the rest of middle school there and high school, and I was fine. And
Okay.
it turned out really well. So, um, but we moved, and that moving was another pruning experience for me.
Of course, as a kid,
Because as
teenager.
I said, I was close to my grandparents and my aunts and uncles, and none of them lived here.
Yeah.
By the time we moved here, I had no other family that lived here.
Yeah.
My mom didn't really have any friends here. She found, jobs, and my mom's always been a hard worker and always, done that, but it was a lot, right? She was working 2 and 3 jobs to pay for stuff up here, and it was hard. It was a hard time. There was a time when, literally in our apartment, we had butter and mustard,
Okay.
and that's it. Like, I went in the kitchen and I was like, "Okay, well," and
Yeah.
that was it. Um, Thankfully, that was few and far between and didn't last very long, and we were okay, but, those were the realities that we lived
Wow.
in that time.
Yeah.
So, once we moved to Lawrence, was a much better fit, found some, people there who I could identify with and become friends with, and, I moved there in 7th grade, and in 7th grade, I met, like I said, lots of new people. One of the people I met, his name's Brian. And I'll talk more about Brian in a minute, but Brian was one of my friends. I met in math class or something. I don't remember now, but and I'm still friends with Brian today. and he weaves in part of my marriage story, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So I moved 7th grade. I was great. Got to high school, got involved in all kinds of stuff there. I was in the gymnastics team for a year, and then I managed the gymnastics team for a year. I was on the golf team for 3 years. I was in show choir, National Honor Society, did all the things.
Wow.
Had a job. Did I still did all the things when I was
Yeah,
in
did all
school.
the things.
I did all the things. Got good grades. Did what I needed to do there. Um, and so Brian, who I met in 7th grade, when we got done with 8th grade, he went to a private high school, and I went on to the public high school. His 9th grade year of private high school, he met a friend named Rob, and bet- with Brian knowing Rob, somehow Brian was still friends with the boys that I went to school with in high school. And my sophomore year, or my junior year, let's see, my junior year of high school, we all went to homecoming together as a big group. And my husband was there with another date, and I was there with my boyfriend at the time. And we met.
Okay,
So that was in 1995.
okay.
Um, and I, like I said, had a different boyfriend at the time, but
Sure.
we got together. He was like, thought I was the bee's knees McGee's. So, um, yeah, he'll tell you. I mean, I was like, and he'll tell you also, I was like, man, that kid is loud. I was like, what is happening with this person? He is loud. And yeah, so, but the rest is history. We became really good friends, and we started dating when we were right before the start of our senior year of high school.
Okay.
And we've been together ever since. We got married
Mhm.
when, yeah, yeah. So, and all because I met Brian in 7th grade, uh,
Yep. Isn't
and
that
he's
funny how, like, things connect and, like,
yeah,
things come together? That's beautiful.
and actually Brian and my husband Rob are business partners in my husband's business now.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah,
Okay. S
so,
it's
um,
still it's
it's
still
still
there.
it's
Relationship's
still
still
there.
strong. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, and, so I'll digress for just a minute. So I'm a lawyer, is one of the things you said I am, which is true. I decided when I was 9 years old that I was gonna become a lawyer.
Okay.
Um,
Can I ask a question about that?
yeah,
Is that because of the conflict between your mom and dad? Or was
no,
No, okay.
nope. Um, that would have been a great reason to do it,
I
but
was
no. Yeah,
Okay,
no. So my mom was, in paralegal school at Vincennes University
okay,
back in the day, and I would go with her to the law library sometimes, and she would say, "Hey, go find this book for me. I need blah, blah, blah book to do my research," or whatever she needed. And so I would go tot around, I'd go find the book. And these books, now I know this now, at the time didn't really understand what they were, but are what are called Northeastern Reporters. And what those books are is where the Court of Appeals decisions and the Supreme Court decisions are published, or used to be published in books back in the 80s.
okay.
And um and I just thought these books were the coolest thing ever. I mean, I was like the biggest nerd
That's fu
ever. But I would get these books for her and look at them, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, these are like the opinions of judges, and, these books are just cool." Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I was stuck on these. And so, in my night, I was like, "Well, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be a lawyer."
Okay.
So, and, you might learn
And here you are.
when I make my mind up about something, we're gonna do it.
Right, right. You're a
So
design
I never changed from that. So when I went through high school, I knew that's what I wanted to do. When I graduated from high school and started college, I knew that's what I wanted to do. Um, so I went, uh, to, like I said, Lawrence Central High School. I graduated high school. My husband and I went to IUPUI because I couldn't afford to go anywhere else, and his grades weren't so great, so he couldn't get into anywhere else pretty much. So it was actually really cute. Our freshman year of college, we took all the exact same classes, so we could drive to and from school together. So
Oh, that is sweet.
so he and I worked, not full time during college, but worked and went to school full time, and had a good 4 year college experience. I got done with that. We got married right after we both graduated from college, and then I started law school the next year and graduated from that. So, um, but that process started way back, way back then, and I, you know. just stuck to it this whole time. I
Yeah.
don't think I knew back then when I decided to become a lawyer that, that I really understood that I really wanted to be a judge.
Okay.
That's come in the last probably 10 years or so. I'm getting ready to enter my 22nd year of being an attorney.
Okay.
And so, the first few years I practiced law downtown at a firm and, did my thing. And I took a little time off when I had a kid um, and then went back part time after that and worked part time for a long time downtown. Um, and, I don't, the practice of law is a lot of arguing, and it's a lot of taking a position and holding to that position and trying to produce an outcome,
Yes.
that your clients want, and I don't love that.
Okay.
I don't love the arguing.
Okay.
Um, what I value about what I do as an attorney is that um, I get to get a portion of my clients' lives finalized. Like, I
Okay.
get to bring it to conclusion.
Resolution for your clients.
Yeah, and
Yep.
I value that a
Got
lot.
it. Yep.
And so but I don't value the arguing. I value that.
Can I
And yeah,
Oh, sorry. I'm
I
just
know.
so curious. I wanna hear, like,
Yeah.
how was there some pruning that was happening for you? Because 'Cause we're kind of, like, about 4 or 5 minutes away from kinda wrapping up, so I wanna hear more about some of that pruning that might have happened in your young adult life or even as an attorney to kinda, like, get you to where you are today.
Yeah, so there was a lot of that going on. So, mostly, well, a lot of that had to do with finances, as I've mentioned. We moved up here. We didn't have a lot. My mom never had a lot. I didn't have a lot. I started working when I was like literally the week I turned 16. Even though I live with my mom still, once I started working, I paid for all my own stuff. Like I paid for my own, well, I still had a plug-in wall phone back then.
Yep, I remember those.
I had that because she had her own, and if I didn't have my own, I wouldn't get to use it, so I had my own. But I paid for my own stuff. Like, I bought my own bed that was in my bedroom when I was 16. I mean,
Okay,
and I paid for my own toilet paper and toothbrush when I was that age. And,
okay.
that's not normal, right? I
Mm,
mean, that is not the life that we lead today, at least not for me, right? My kids don't have to do those kinds of things, and that produced in me a lot of pruning, right? Like, hey, I'm not experiencing the same teenagehood that my friends are.
yeah,
Even though I was involved with school and I did all the things at school, I didn't get the same, experiences that my peers were getting.
yeah,
And I knew that. Like, I was acutely aware that what I was going through was not what they were going through. And that's
yeah,
hard. It's hard to deal with that. It's hard to try to fit in and be like your friends are
and you're not.
and when you're not, right? When you leave school, you're not going home and somebody's making you dinner and driving you around all the places you need to go. I left school, hopefully I had a ride home. If not, I was taking the bus. Then I walked from my apartment to my work where I worked and I did the things. And so I got a lot of pruning in the fact that I had a lot of responsibility for myself.
Mhm. Mhm,
So I was very self-reliant.
mhm.
Um, on top of that, once I started dating my now husband, my mom didn't like him very much. And I'm not going to go into all the reasons why because I don't think they're valid, but it doesn't matter. She didn't like him very much. And so all of a sudden, while I'd been raising myself for 17 years, she decided that I needed all these rules, which was fine. And the rules themselves were not bad. It wasn't that these rules were bad, but I didn't need these rules.
You've
I
been
mean,
reliant, self-sufficient your whole entire life, like
and I'm getting good grades, I'm working, I'm paying for my own stuff, I'm
right,
not doing anything wrong. Like,
right.
I was not a drinker I mean, I didn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah,
And so we had a lot of discourse, my last year and a half or so of high school. In fact, we had so much so that about 2 weeks before I graduated high school, I'll tell this quickly because I know we're up against your time, but, we and this will be the biggest pruning, right? So um, uh, Rob, my husband, now husband, called me at work one day and he said, "Hey, I just got tickets to the Holman George suite at the track. because somehow he knew these people. I don't know. And he's like, "Can you get off work and can you go?" It was on a Sunday. And I was like, "Oh, I'm sure I can. There's nobody here." I worked at the Sizzler. Nobody was there. Okay. So he calls me. I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." So I asked my boss, "Can I go?" "Yes, you can go." Great. I run home, change my clothes. He comes, picks me up. We go to the track. Halfway there, I went, "Oh no." And he goes, "What?" And I said, "I forgot to leave my mom a note to tell her where I was going." I didn't have a cell phone back then. That was not a thing yet. And my husband had a pager. My boyfriend had a pager at the time, but no phone.
I remember
And so I'm
those.
like, yeah, right. And so which crazy. Our kids would be like, what is that?
What is
And
that?
so she pages him and I call her from the Holman George suite at the track. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to leave you a note. I know I'm in trouble. I apologize. This is where I'm at. I'm going to
Yep.
be home early, all the things." And so she's like, whatever, and basically hangs up the phone. Fast forward a couple hours, we're on our way home. She pages him again, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I'm trying to get home." And so, but we stopped to call her from his mom's house, actually. And I call her, and she says, "You have till Friday to get out of my house." And she hung up the phone.
Okay.
And I was like, "Okay, well." And so I did. Because I just get stuff done. I moved out on Wednesday because I was like, "Well,
Oh,
I'm
I
not."
have Friday. We're gonna go ahead and accelerate that because I'm an overachiever, and we're gonna get wrap this up.
That's right. We're gonna get this done.
Yep.
So, long story short, I moved out that Wednesday. I moved in with my best friend and let me live with her. And her mom is whom a lovely human we call Grandma Sally now. And I lived there for a while, and lots of other things happened. But that experience, was a lot of pruning, right? I mean, I had already been grown up for a long time, and I had already been sort of paying for myself for a long time. But it's a whole different ball of wax when now you're not with when you're not with your mom, right? You're not with a parent. Um, and so that, kind of accelerated that sort of growth as far as, hey, you don't have that whatever amount of cushion it was, it's gone.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I mean, there's so many of those stories I could tell, but the when you grow up like that where you have to be so self-sufficient.
That's right.
You're I think God's constantly pruning you. Like, "Hey, I've got to prepare you for what's ahead, and
Yep.
this may not feel good today," and pruning never does feel good.
Yes.
And those things didn't feel good to me. I was like, "What is happening?" So many times I had to ask myself, "What is happening in my life?" But particularly in those phases and those years. But I can look back today and go, "Oh, well, now I can go, well, I get it. I understand sort of why those things were happening and what good they produced."
Yeah, that's good. So I'm curious as we wrap up this episode and the next episode, we'll dive into like pruning and how do we use that pruning for purpose and just
Yeah.
more practical applications. But for
Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
um, just to our listener, if you were talking to a woman who's going through a pruning season right now,
Yeah.
what would you say to her to wrap up this episode?
Um, I would say that God uses everything for our good, and that sometimes, things feel unfair.
Yeah.
Things feel like you want to ask, why is this happening to me? Um, why am I going through this? You know, and that it feels like so many things are hitting you all at once, right? And what I would encourage those women who feel like that, hey, I've got so many things coming at you, whether it's work and your kids and your husband and your parents, right? Because we're at
And
the
your
age,
hormones.
and your oh, the hormones.
Just throw that one in there.
Oh, I can't. We could do a whole episode on those.
I know.
Okay, and the hormones, and you've got all that coming at you. There is good going to come from that. There is a purpose and a building up of you that will come from stripping down the things that God doesn't want you to carry into your next season.
It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing part of your story. And sister, if you're out there listening, I believe this, and if you're going through a pruning season, I believe this message is for you. I think this message is to remind you that there is hope, to remind you that the pruning does have a purpose, It is part of the equipping. It is part of the call. It is part of life. And you are not alone and you are not forgotten. And nothing hard that you have walked through or will walk through will be wasted. It will all be used for good. And I believe that. And I'm going to proclaim that for you. And we will talk more on the next episode about just some practical applications about the pruning season, how to get through it, and how to really walk out our purpose. Thank you for being here, and we'll talk to you soon. We love you.